Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I am your host, Joey DeMeglio, and the trade deadline is come and gone. We are back. We're back. Thankfully, we no longer have to sit on our phones refreshing Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, all day to see if the Rangers made a move. We can do that again in the offseason. We're back at it after taking a week off. I've graduated from journalism school. Journalism D is here. That's 2 degrees. Yes, sir. 2 degrees. 2 degrees. One bio.
Congratulations, Day.
Thank you, Evan D, Ranger Central D. Biology and sports journalism. 2 things that completely go together. You never would have thought of it before. But anyways, Evan, my pal from Ranger Central, is here today. How are we feeling post-deadline?
Drained from all the live streaming because I told you just now off air, between 30 hours of the past 3 days at least.
This guy is dedicated, man. Like, I'm sure the people that are watching, a lot of them are coming from his side of things. But if you're not following him on Twitter, X, YouTube, go subscribe to him and give this guy a thumbs up on all of his videos, man. He deserves it.
As long as you're okay with passion and intensity, I could be intense. I could be intense, and that's where I'm polarizing with some fans. And I wasn't popular for some of my takes over the past few days, but yeah, I'm sure we're going to talk about the moves and talk about how I feel. But before we do, just to give my general feeling, I'm not pleased. I'm not angry. I'm right in the middle. Middle day.
Boys, how we feeling, boys? PhD D soon.
PhD D. PhD.
Yeah, capital D. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, on this trade deadline, I don't know how to feel. Like, first things first, like, the thing that I need to point out, like, of course we knew Wennberg was going to happen, right? But the thing that I thought about a little bit yesterday was the fact that things were leaking. And it never happens with the Rangers. Like, that's something I saw nobody talk about. And I know for a fact that it's not from the Rangers side of things. It was coming from the Penguin side of it, because it's such a high profile name. And like, I'm getting excited over here. Like, oh my God, we're going to get Guentzel. We're going to get Guentzel. But it's like, wait, how do we know this right now when the deal's not even close to being done? I don't care. We're getting Guentzel. We're getting Guentzel. And then all of a sudden it's just like, falls right through. I think that the Rangers work better out of the shadows. Like, when it's just like, right, you don't know what's going to happen, and then right away, source, Rangers are completing a trade, Tarasenko's going to the Rangers. Like, that's how it was last year. Except with Kane, we knew that was leaked. It was the worst kept secret because he made it publicly known that he wanted to go to the Rangers.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely the Pittsburgh thing, especially considering that it was pretty much all Penguins beat writers like leaking information, and the fraud David Pagnotta, which I don't even know if that dude had actual information. I think he was just a mouthpiece or just saying stuff, because clearly that ended up being wrong. He's my new Bob Nightingale. That was Trevor Bauer to the Mets 2.0 for me. But
yeah,
I feel like a complete idiot. Here I am, who was streaming 30 hours waiting for the guy to be traded, for him to not even go to my favorite hockey team. That's what annoys me the most.
So, on talking about Guentzel, do you think, because this is the way I feel, do you think it was like him or nobody else?
To an extent, yes. To an extent, no. Because I felt, well, here's the thing. I felt that he was the clear best option. Even though he was a rental, I preferred him over Pavel Buchnevich. I preferred him over Alex Tuch if he became available. I preferred him over Frank Vatrano for sure. And then Eberle too, which was another name that I wanted, but he got extended. I preferred, like, Guentzel was at the top of my list for sure. That's what also just makes it so aggravating. But because the thing was with Guentzel, like, the reason I was so pissed off when they didn't get him is, like, I don't think Drury's for a Booch reunion at all. Like, I really didn't think he was for it. At that point, I was convinced that if the only way Eberle wasn't going to extend in Seattle was if he was going to Edmonton, because at least he's going to somewhere he knows. And then with Vatrano, once they didn't land Guentzel, I was like, well, the Ducks have Vatrano for another year. They think they could extend him. Pat Verbeek's now going to be foaming at the mouth to up the price. And then with who was the other name? With Talk. I just didn't think he was available at all.
No, I didn't either. Yeah.
I didn't think Buffalo, and why would they rush to move him? So to me, it was like, all right, just push your chips in. I still feel a certain way. I was like, push your chips in to go get Guentzel, because this year is as good a year as any. The first year they conservative bought a bit because they wanted to, like, it was their first year out of the rebuild. It makes sense. You conservative buy there. Last year they did the all-in thing, which I don't think it was Lorenzo's fault at all. They lost last year, but it didn't work. I still feel maybe they could have went with a more balanced approach.
I agree with you there. I don't think it was the rentals. I don't think it was Kane or Tarasenko's fault, because those guys performed just fine. It was Panarin
and Laugh, who had no points in the playoffs, and then Mika had like 1 or 2 goals, and then like I think 1 goal and 3 assists for 4 points. So
the only ones from the core that like really stepped up were Kreider and then Shesterkin. I would say,
and then Fox, but then Game 7, like
Game 7. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah, and then like that's the thing that no, because like you could argue that they should have went more balanced last year, but to me, I think that last year paranoid Drury, and that's why you didn't see him be more aggressive to go get Jake Guentzel. If last year worked out and they made the conference finals or the cup finals, even for that matter, maybe Drury would have been more inclined to go all in. I think last year scared him. I truly think last year scared him. And I think he's hoping to get magic that they got in 2022 that I don't quite frankly know if they're going to get, because Zibanejad, is he gonna, like, I still have so many questions. Either way, if they got Guentzel or not, Zibanejad has to step up. It's that simple. And Gentzel's the guy that I thought could have got him going potentially, but now it's up to him himself. Like, he's got to step it up. If he doesn't, then this team just doesn't have a chance at all. If he does step up, and if Kreider could start getting going at 5v5, then I like this team's chances just as much as any, but that's a big if, considering we're in March and we've been saying this for months now.
Yeah. I mean, like, just talking to you like all the time, like when we went for the Airbnb, it's like, you have said like you have questions about whether this core could win a cup, and my thinking is like, all right, Guentzel is a great player, no doubt, right? Like, he's a winner, he's the champion, he's won a cup. I think he's won. It's only one, right? It's not
one. His rookie year was for the second cup. Yeah.
Great playoff player. Like, this guy is, you could count on him in the playoffs. He's one of the better players that's out there, and with or without Crosby, I think. But is he enough to solve everything? You know what I mean? Like, when there's so many questions about the core, like you said.
I felt that was the guy that could potentially make a difference truly in this team going far or not. And I'm getting a lot of flack for it, because I was one that said I would be okay personally. Guess my ice cold take here, right? But I was okay with them moving Kakko and Othman to get him. And there was a rumor.
Same deal.
Yeah, there was a rumor that Vince put out that apparently Pittsburgh, I don't know if how true it is or not, but apparently Pittsburgh didn't really want to move him to the Rangers, which I still think is weird, because you still trade him in division. And if anything, I think it's more likely he extends in Carolina than he would have here. But that's neither here nor there. As hot of a take it is, I really think that it would have been the right move to just put your eggs in and move Kakko and Othman. Like, this was the guy to get. And maybe you do find a way to extend him. But my mindset truly was that, all right, well, you get Guentzel. If it doesn't work out and you lose in round 1 or 2, you have to retool anyway. All of a sudden, that opens up the cap to extend him. But if you go far and obviously win, then, well, it worked out and you made the right move. That's kind of my mindset on it. And I know it's not the popular take to move both of them in the same deal, but to me, like, I don't, because the market was so low that you could have got Roslovic still to replace Kakko, and then your third line's looking like Cooley, Cooley, Wenberg, Roslovic. That's a really good third line. And then Gensel on that top line. I would like the chances of that team.
What confused me is like the reports of what they were asking for. It's like, all right, they're open to quality over quantity. Well, the Rangers have quality. Like they offered a first. They offered it was either Kakko or Othmann. I don't think they offered both. But
the rumor thing that I saw was they offered a first and Othmann.
A first and Othmann, right? Like that's okay. We'll consider Othmann a tier 1, an A prospect. Can we do that? Are we allowed to do that or no?
Yeah, I would say that.
First and an A prospect or a second and like 3B prospects and this dude's contract.
And Bunting, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's this dude's contract is Bunting.
Yeah, like Dubas has a hard on for the guy, honestly.
Like I don't get it. I don't get it. Why were all these other teams saying like, oh no, if you want this guy, you need to give us a first and Kakko? Like Henrique and Vetrano for a first and Kakko? Are you serious? That doesn't move the needle for the Rangers. That is a stupid deal. Honestly, I'm sorry. I know Kakko's not the second overall pick that we all thought he was going to be, but he's a pretty good third liner, man. Like that's something. If you trade him, you need to fill that hole.
Yeah. That that deal I was against. The rumor of a first and Kakko for Henrique and Vetrano. And I know it's like, all right, well, why would you be willing to give him up for one player versus the other? It's because Jake Gensel is like such a difference maker. You look at his playoff stats. He had 20 points in 12 playoff games in 1 year. Yeah. Unreal. He had 8 goals against the Rangers that one series. Everybody remembers that crazy goal they scored where he like kicked it up to himself and then batted it in. Ridiculous.
Yeah, Lazzy posted that yesterday.
Yeah, just ridiculous. Like the guy is a freaking winner, and that's why I want him. But clearly, Drury wants to roll his chances. But the thing that aggravates me more, and you know, fine, you didn't want to pay that much to get Jake Gensel. All right, fine. I can understand you don't want to mortgage the future entirely there, but why is it that there was like really no pivot plan? Like with the Rangers, it seemed like themselves it was Gensel or bust. Like if they didn't get Gensel, it was like, well,
that's how I felt, honestly, dude. Like yesterday, I'm sitting here looking at like the other wingers that are available, and I'm like, none of these guys really move the needle for me as much as Gensel. Like, and based on what they're asking for, so like if they're asking for. At the time, I thought like, all right, so if the Penguins are asking for a first, a roster player, and a prospect, and the Ducks are asking for a first and a roster player for Vetrano, I'm obviously going to take the first. I'm going to pay the extra amount for Gensel, but like none of the other options really move the needle for me, except for like Buchnevich. But for me personally, when you compare Gensel to Buchnevich, Gensel's the winner. He's a Stanley Cup champion. That guy is like your skin and bones. Like this is like these are the intangible. There's nothing to like hate about the guy. What more can I say about him? And I think a lot of other NHL GMs too. I think they just disrespected the value that Zach Jones has. Honestly, I feel like that guy has value.
Dude, I am shocked he's still in this organization.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. That's a melted take. Like I've said it all along that guy is going to be traded. I thought it was a no-brainer.
Every year. I say every year, and
he might replace Lindgren next year, possibly, potentially.
I mean, if he's not going to next year, when do they envision this guy playing? If they're not going to move him,
they obviously like him, to keep him around. I don't know. Maybe because of the Trouba injury, they felt they didn't want to get rid of it. I don't know. But the only
thing I could say is maybe they do move him this offseason to recoup some draft capital that they've lost lately, which they probably won't get a lot, but maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll recoup some draft capital there with Jones, because if he's not going to play, where are you going to? And yeah, this is the point here that Matt said. 29-year-old in his prime and a point per game in the playoffs, the definition of a needle mover. Statboy Steven was in my stream a couple days ago, and he said it like it would be the Rangers' best deadline move since Marty St. Louis. And
2
different things, by the way. One, people need to stop blowing out of proportion the narrative of his injury. It was a broken finger. Stop comparing it to Kane, who was on one hip. That's two completely different injuries.
I didn't realize Gensel was hurt until like yesterday.
Yeah, he's been on LTIR with a broken finger, and for whatever reason, because of last year, the PTSD kicked in. It's like, oh my God, major injury. Can't play him. It's a broken finger. He'll be fine. He casted it up. This isn't a hip that needed like major surgery. The second thing, there was a rumor going around from a fake account that's just as reliable as Mickey. So if you trust Mickey, fine. That Crosby vetoed any trade idea for the Rangers to get Gensel. Like,
that was hilarious.
If Crosby vetoed a trade, the Rangers wouldn't even entertain like getting deep in the conversations with Dubas about Gensel. They'd be wasting their time. So
Jesus. Yeah, I saw that. That was really funny. I didn't believe it for a second. I was reading it and I'm like, oh, Crosby, NYR, and I'm like, oh wait, this is fake news.
What a crazy day at the office. And then you got I forgot which reporter this morning started off by writing an article about the idea of the Rangers pushing for Crosby. Like, just stop. Is it that slow of a day at the office? Yeah, like, what are you doing? Like,
getting old, man.
Stand up next time so I can hear you when you're talking out of your ass. Like, come on, man. They weren't.
Also, I want to bring this point up here. Trouba on LTIR. Okay. I don't know what moves the Rangers could have made that, you know, I think once Gensel left, came off the board, I don't think there really was anything that they could have done. Maybe Kuznetsov, but even that, I don't want Kuznetsov.
Oh, gross.
Oh, yeah. Like that, to me, the LTIR space didn't really matter as much, the extra space, like from Trouba's, because the Rangers weren't willing to go do what Vegas was doing. Like that, I can't believe Hertl got traded. We just hit 2 years. 2 years ago, we were saying like, all right. Nick put a tweet out that was really funny.
It was so true too.
It's like, all right, yeah, let's get Eichel. Okay, let's get Hertl, and then it's like Vegas is like, all right, we'll take both.
Yeah, just not fair what they're doing, and I don't care what anyone says. I know I got a lot of hate for this because they're like, why is it good for the sport? I think it's good for the sport, GMs being aggressive. And the thing that made no sense to me, Jeff Merrick on his show was defending what the Rangers did. Is like, well, yeah, look at all these recent cup winners. You're the same insiders that complain when there's not a lot of chaotic moves. And now you're saying that these minor moves are the way to win. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but regardless, what Vegas is doing is within the rules. Don't hate the player, hate the game. I think I said this on my live stream that the LTIR rules need to be tweaked, that only a certain percentage of the cap hit of the player that's on LTIR opens up. Like, say it would have to be where the player, it depends on their contract. So like, say it's a player that's making like $2.5 million. All right, maybe you get their full cap hit there. But if it's a player making like 9.5, like Mark Stone, you could only use like 20% of that cap hit.
Yeah. It's gotta be like something like that. I think that's fair.
Yeah, like I will say they do need to change the rules. It is ridiculous, but I can't hate on what they're doing, because if the Rangers did it today with Jacob Trouba, I would be just as happy. And I don't understand why they didn't really even try to do it, because of the fact that if he's out for 2 to 3 weeks, like, you might as well just hold him out for the playoffs.
Hold up. You know what I was thinking of yesterday? Actually, this probably would be a dumb move, but the Rangers needed a defenseman, right? And they needed a right winger.
Yeah.
St. Louis has had Buchnevich and Colton Parayko.
Dude,
maybe
I thought about that.
The only thing is that Parayko is 30 years old and his contract is for another 6 years. And I'm like, all right, dude.
All right, maybe not.
That's gonna age. Yeah, that I was like, all right, Parayko's a very good defenseman. And then I saw the contract, and then I saw his age, and I quickly backed out of that. And
yeah, he's also right shot, so probably wouldn't have fit in even when the team got healthy. Like, if he was a left shot, I'd be like, all right, well, there's your Lindgren replacement for the next few years.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking something like that. But then there's other teams, like the Maple Leafs have so many like they do lefty on defense. Like some teams just don't care about the right left.
That was the team I thought was going to make the Buchnevich Parayko deal because they have such a glaring need on their right shot that they just don't address at all. They do not address the right shot defenseman at all. Like they have Ilya Lyubushkin and Timothy Liljegren. That's their right shot defenseman. And they just play TJ Brody on the right side or Jake McCabe. Don't know why they do it. And then I was talking about if they did that trade, because Hot Take Hockey was that put a proposal of like them getting both of them. That lineup, dude, Buchnevich, Matthews, Marner as their first line would have been disgusting. That would have made Toronto a serious threat, that trade.
The only thing is like their best players needed to come out and play, like be elite in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
They're
kind of similar to the Rangers with that.
That's the most fun. That's what makes the playoffs like fun, you know? You know what I mean? Like when the Rangers went on their run in 2014, we already knew McDonough was a great player. That playoff run, he made himself an elite player. Like that run was special. That's when like then like that's when you make your push, when good teams become great teams, right? Is when you take you're already at an elite level and you take it even higher. And you see that. Like a couple years ago when Keandre Miller, like the playoffs, the game 7 against Pittsburgh, when he drew that penalty, game 1 against Carolina, that was like a blossoming star. Like those moments. That's what we need from the Rangers this year.
I agree.
That would be the biggest like benefit. That would be the biggest acquisition that they could make from this deadline. I hate to say that because I know we were expecting Gensel, and the Rangers really just came away with peanuts. They didn't give up much, and they didn't really change the scope of the team, of the roster, aside from getting Wenberg, the 3C.
Brassard too, like Matt said in the chat.
Brassard too. Oh yeah, yes. Brassard took that next step as well. He didn't become elite, but he became a very effective player. 16-game player. That was a playoff performer. Dude, and then going back to like real quick back to Hurdle and Vegas. I don't know what Mike Greer's doing, dude. 2 first-round picks, and it's I mean, like it's Vegas. It's gonna be 2 30th overall picks at least. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get that either. And the fact that he gave Vegas 2/3 is just ridiculous. Like I don't understand how they got 2/3 out of that deal.
Wait, Vegas got 2/3?
Yeah, Vegas got 2/3 in that deal. So they just got more ammo to be aggressive next year.
A late second round pick. Yeah, exactly. I don't get that. Maybe Hurdle asked out and Vegas was the only team. I don't know, man. They could have done that in the offseason if they wanted to.
I don't get that. And now he's on IR.
But let's get to these additions that the Rangers made. Alex Wenberg, first guy they made the trade for on Wednesday. I think it's a pretty solid move. None of these trades, they didn't give up that much. They didn't give up any first. The most they gave up was the Wenberg trade. It was a 2nd round pick, and what was it, a 4th?
And a 4th, yeah.
Okay. It was that conditional 4th. That was the one if Nils Lundqvist gets 55 points between last year and this year, it turns into a 3rd. That's not happening. So it's a 4th round pick.
Y'all know that ain't happening.
Yeah.
I was like one of the few people. Everyone calls me the negative upset fan. I was like one of the few people that was happy about the Wenberg deal. I was like, all right, well,
that was an easy one though.
Yeah, but fans hated this deal for some reason. I'm like, I don't understand how you could hate it. Like, I get that, it is a little steep compared to what some guys got, but the markets for centers are always higher than wingers. And compared to what they gave up for Andrew Kopp 2 years ago, I think this is a way better deal. Like they gave up Morgan Barron, a young roster player, 2 second-round picks. One became a 1st because they made the conference finals. And then I think like a 4th round pick as well. They gave it up a gross amount for Andrew Kopp. This is a way better deal than that one was. So I'm a fan of it. And I think he adds some good play that this team needs. I don't like that he's a passenger too much, but I do like the team speed that he does add. I think that him being a passenger is fine if they envision Kakko playing on that third line with him. Cooley,
Yeah.
Wenberg, Kakko. If that's the third line, I think that could be a very good third line for this team.
Yeah. And I like that because then Roslovic would be up on the top line and he's fast and I like that a lot because Toronto was fast too. I don't know about Roslovic's shot. We'll get to Roslovic in a second, but I just want to touch on Wenberg. Like I like Brodzinski now. I wasn't a fan of him, but now I think he's a very solid NHL player. Getting Wenberg lengthens the lineup. It pushes ideally it pushes Brodzinski down to the fourth line, right? And you could take your pick. You want to put Rempe in there, you want to put Gaudreau in there, Edstrom, who they just sent down today. You're gonna put him with VZ and Brodzinski. Brodzinski should not come out of the lineup. I'm sorry. Like that guy has earned his spot on the team.
I wish it was Gaudreau and Edstrom still in.
I know, man. I know. Like
it wasn't gonna happen.
Maybe this is optimistic D. Like, how are we gonna tell him? Maybe Gaudreau could catch lightning in a bottle again. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a tall ask. But no, yeah, you're right. Like, it really does lengthen the lineup that it really, really needed. And again, Wenberg, I don't think. I think at times he's going to frustrate fans. He's going to because he is that passenger type player, but he is also going to be a guy that fans will like in terms of the speed that he's going to add to the lineup. So, and yeah, that's the point. You need to be solid down the middle in the playoffs. And Wenberg is that. It was going to be, listen, no matter what, it was going to be impossible to fill the Filipino shoes, like, or skates in this matter. It was going to be impossible to fill Filipino's void. And there wasn't a lot of center options available. This was one of the guys that I thought was an okay pickup, like a good pickup, honestly. His defensive play is great. He sucks on the penalty kill. That's what the metrics say, but looks like he's getting reps at the PK. So just send a prayer when he's out there on the PK. But I think he's going to be a solid two-way forward for this team.
When are they going to give Kakko penalty killing time?
Dude,
I think they need to give that kid penalty killing time.
I agree.
That guy is not he's not just a good defender. He's a great defender.
The chat.
We have
the bottom one, the recent one from VZ Peasy.
Only thing Ruger.
A red-eye flight to Guangdong. It's hilarious.
Wow. Savage. Yeah, but Kakko, yeah, I think Kakko should get penalty kill. Like a couple shifts here and there, maybe at least. But anyways, on the Chad Ruhwedel, a 4th round pick from 3 years from now. I can't complain about that. What is that gonna be? 3 years from now? I don't even know if we're gonna be here 3 years from now.
At first on the live stream,
I don't even know if the Ice Cold Takes will still be here in 3 years.
At first on my live stream, I was like, they slightly overpaid for Ruhwedel, but obviously in the grand scheme of things, a 4th round pick wouldn't matter. But I was like, all right, this is kind of an overpay a bit. But then more defensemen started going for a 4th that are worse than him. And I'm like, all right, this is a good deal. And I was joking about it, half joking the whole time. That was like, if the Rangers get Gensel, they should try to get Ruhwedel in the deal. Like, I think Ruhwedel is a solid pickup too.
Yeah.
The only question that I have is, where is he going to play when this team is healthy? Because I can't envision Schneider coming out of the lineup. Maybe Ruhwedel plays the left side and Laviolette ends his hard on for Gustafsson. But then if that happens, all right, who's quarterbacking the second power play? Jacob Trouba, which that's not ideal, really.
Miller.
It should be Miller, but probably more likely that's going to be a guy like Jacob Trouba. But I like Ruhwedel. The metrics tell you he's really good in his own end. I'm curious to see, though, if it's fool's gold, those metrics, or not, because the metrics say Gustafsson's been like really good in his own end even this year, which it's half true. Like, he's been solid, but there are times where it's like, what are you doing?
It's probably carried by like his first half of the season.
That's true.
You think so?
That's very true.
But Ruido's metrics are good, and he's on a bad Pittsburgh team.
Yeah, I think Ruido's going to be a solid pickup.
I think so too, man.
I'm
I
curious
think
where they're going to play
they'll
him.
have. Yeah, I think they should like if he. I think there's a strong chance that like he plays his first game and he makes a very good impression and he just stays in the lineup, but like they won't take him out. But then who else is gonna come out? Like it's. I think he's almost gonna like
Yeah,
force you to play him.
I hope so, dude,
I
because
hope that would be good because you need
yeah,
people that are reliable in the back end. Like Gustafson brings the offense, but like defensively, he turns it over a lot, and it's not good.
I think those two should play together, but I think they're going to keep together Schneider and Gustafson just because they don't want to mess with anything there. But I hope not. I think Ruido and Gustafson would be a very solid third pair. You got a guy that really likes to jump up and play offensively, like you mentioned. Then Ruido could like stabilize things for that pair.
Mm-hmm. And if Lindgren gets hurt again, you have Zach Jones that could step in too.
Yeah,
But
I like the depth now.
Trouba is out 2 to 3 weeks, and that is, he'll be back just in time for the playoffs, I think. So that's good. He'll be fresh. He'll be ready to go for the playoffs because we're gonna need every ounce of energy that guy brings, all that physicality that he brings.
Hopefully he throws a big hit earlier though this time.
Oh
Thought he
yeah.
waited too long in that New Jersey series.
Play the Nick Paton highlight reel. Oh yeah, the Rangers traded Turner Elson for Nick Paton.
I was scared you were gonna forget that trade. I would have been throwing things if you didn't even mention the Nick Paton trade.
I don't have it written down, but I just figured I might as well acknowledge it. But
Oh, you gotta acknowledge it.
someone said like maybe I think Blue Shirts Breakaway was talking about how someone called it like we need a replacement for Brodzinski in the minors. Nick Paton. Okay.
I I was joking on Twitter because I tweeted out one of his goals from his hat trick in World Juniors in 2015, and some people were about to fall for it because I put after a disclaimer, I'm like, "This is a joke, by the way," before people take it seriously, and there people replied like, "I was about to take this seriously." I'm like, "I'm not that dumb. I know he's 28. Relax." But yeah, I also think that it's a good move for Hartford and the Rangers underratedly because if they do want to go with more of a guy that's been there, done that type deal, and have a little bit of veteran presence, I think that Nick Paton is a better option than what they have right now. Like Riley Nash has kind of been meh. Alex Belzile, meh. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still giving Rempe and Edstrom the look over them, but Nick Paton, he does have NHL experience at the very least. And actually some decent NHL experience, not anything crazy. But for Hartford, he will help for their Calder Cup push. Like, they have enough physicality there. They need a guy like Nick Paton. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Nick Paton, but I actually do like the pickup underratedly.
That's like a couple years ago when the Rangers traded for Nick Merkley from the Sharks, like that AHL trade that they made.
Yeah.
Right? It was Nick Merkley, right? Not Ryan Merkley. I think it was Nick Merkley.
No, it might have been now I don't even remember. Nick Ryan, same thing. It is what it is.
I'm too lazy to look that up. But anyways, it's not important. I guess this is like the biggest acquisition of the day and this was like right before 3:00, before the clock struck. Jack Roslovic from Columbus for a conditional 4th round pick. And that's what year is that? Is it for this year or next year? Wait, actually, I think it's 2026 because it turns into a 3rd, and the Rangers don't have a 3rd next year. I don't think.
So the condition is it's a 4th round pick that upgrades to a 3rd round pick in 2026 if the Rangers make the finals this year, and Roslovic plays in 50% of the playoff games.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that second half of the condition, he'll definitely play in 50% unless he gets hurt or something.
First half's definitely up in there.
Yeah, first half's up in but it has to be the finals this year. Okay, yeah, because he's not under contract. He's not under contract next year, right?
No, he's not under contract next year.
I think he's a May birthday. Or he just turned 27, I think.
Yeah, he's 27 and he's a January birthday.
January. Yes, I was looking at that before. This is a low risk, potentially good upside move for the Rangers. From what I've heard, he's very fast. He's a playmaker, and that's the speed element for Roslovic. I think it could bring a lot. It could be very helpful if he's playing with Kreider and Zibanejad. Don't get me wrong; those two guys need to up their game. They need to improve themselves and not like I think Dave Maloney said it before one of the games recently. He's like, on bringing Kakko up to that top line, it's like, all right, they have to make Kakko better instead of the other way around. Kakko has to make them better. You know what I mean? It's like,
I've been saying that for a
yeah,
while with those two. It's like, it's sad that we're even talking about them needing a spark plug. Like, listen, I would not be as mad as I am or as I was because I've gotten over at this point. It is what it is. There's no reason to stay mad about it. But the reason I was so mad they didn't get Gensel too is because it's like that was the guy I felt could spark them, and we wouldn't be in this predicament if Mika was playing like a 1C and Kreider performed better at 5v5. Then this wouldn't even be a conversation. And it's like, all right, well, I don't love the going with depth options, like solidify yourself if you can, but at least it's like, all right, well, you're getting production from your star guys. I could at least rationalize going more for the depth route. But with the way they're performing, I think Drury's putting too much faith in them. Hopefully it sends a message the right way. And could it? Maybe, but I don't know if it will or not. Time will tell. But with Roslovic, yeah, I think this was a guy that I really wanted, which, by the way, thank you, Max Pacioretty, for saying no to a trade to the Rangers, because otherwise we're talking about Pacioretty instead of Roslovic.
Awful. And you don't even know if he's going to make it. He would make it to the playoffs, right? Like
you wouldn't know if he would. You don't know if he'd make it to New York without freaking tearing his Achilles. Like, I'm so serious. This would have been Blake Wheeler with a different nameplate on, and the dude's way more at risk of getting injured. That would have been a terrible move. I am so glad he said no, because I am actually really excited about Jack Roslovic. He's the one guy this deadline that I'm like actually really, really excited about. And I like the Ruedel pickup. I like Wenberg, but Roslovic, I think, has like 12 or 13 points in the last 11 or 12 games. He's starting to heat up. He put on a clinic too against the Rangers recently. Like, my eyes were open when he was out there on the ice. Like, he was making an impact. The only thing I don't like is that he's another passenger when that line desperately needs a play driver, like we've talked about ad nauseum. But his speed is going to add a big element to this lineup. And maybe with how much Kreider and Zibanejad play like passengers, maybe he'll start shooting the puck more. I don't know if his shot is all of that. It's not. I mean, I should say it's probably not. It's because people are comparing this to the Vatrano situation. Vatrano was more of a shoot first guy. Roslovic's more of a passenger. If Roslovic does become more of a shoot first guy, that changes the whole dynamic of things. And then we're actually talking about a conversation here of like things improving with this team more. But Mika himself still needs to get going too. Like, this can't just be Roslovic carrying that line.
Yeah. Oh wait, what was I gonna say? Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I rambled a lot there.
No. It's all good. It's all good. Let's look at the comments here. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, with before I get back to, I'll remember my point, but you were saying about how Pacioretty would get hurt before he even got here. It's the reason you're saying that is because you're a Mets fan and Cespedes fell in a hole and got hurt.
Right? Dude, like,
wait, who was it a couple years ago? Like, Lindor closed his finger in a hotel door.
Yeah. Lindor closed his finger on a hotel door. Jerry Blevins fell off a curb and broke his arm.
Yeah, we don't have any luck.
Yeah, like, I'm too much PTSD with that. Yeah. And people were skeptical about Kane last year. Like, this would have been just as I would have been even more skeptical about Pacioretty, because the guy's not even like looking visibly good this year. It literally was Blake Wheeler with a different nameplate.
Yeah. I remembered my point about Roslovic. Is he a Rangers fan? Did he grow up a Rangers fan? I'm pretty sure he did, because
I'm so confused by that. He grew up in Ohio, and I thought he was a Blue Jackets fan growing
yeah,
up.
yeah,
But then you go to his Twitter, and he has like tweets about the Rangers, and it's like
dude.
he might just be a Pittsburgh hater because some of his Ranger tweets were when the Rangers played the Penguins. So maybe he's just a Penguins hater, which if that's the case, that's the guy that I want because I'm not I got a bone to pick with Pittsburgh right now. Kyle Dubas in particular for being a dork, but yeah, maybe it's that.
So the reason I say that is because maybe if he's a fan in the Rangers, maybe now that he's there, he'll play even better. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is played in Winnipeg.
Oh, poor
Fucking
soul.
Winnipeg.
Oh, I gotta tell you something off air about Winnipeg. That's so funny. But
In Columbus, Ohio. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, yeah, he's gonna be excited to live in civilization for once.
you get what I mean? Like how Fox, I know Fox didn't play in the NHL before he came to the Rangers, but like, I feel like Fox is a little bit better just because he's playing for the Rangers. You know what I mean? Like, that was his
There is
dream
something
growing.
to that. Like
I
guys
feel
are
like
just
there's
more
something to,
comfortable.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, guys are more comfortable in certain places. Like it is a thing that guys ask out because they simply need a change of scenery mentally. Like dude went from Winnipeg to US's version of Winnipeg. Like it's gonna be nice for him to go to civilization for once and like be able to open up a window when he's in his apartment. But yeah, all jokes aside, I think he's gonna be rejuvenated playing for a winning team too. Like he's the one that excites me the most out of any of these moves. And we were really Max Pacioretty saying yes away from not getting this kid. I
Yeah,
don't like the sound
I
of
know,
that. Chris
I know,
Drury.
I know. Some people were calling for Roslovic a while ago, and I never saw like it as like a thing. Like, nah, I don't want that as a third line center, but as a winger, okay, interesting, interesting. Like this, you have my attention, Jack Roslovic. Um, I was texting my old co-host today. I was saying like the first thing I thought of when I saw Columbus and Rangers and center Jack Roslovic was Derek Brassard. Like, that's, I don't know why. Like, my mind just immediately thought of Derek Brassard. I'm like, maybe Brassard light. I
He
don't know.
could he actually could be Broussard light. Like there is some Broussard in his game a bit, which, if he has the playoffs that Broussard has had, that would be nice. I mean, he has 5 points though in 20 playoff games. Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. Bronx, Winnipeg has some sick Airbnbs. But yeah, like I think that this is going to be like Matt was saying it in our group chat we're in. If the Rangers do wind up find themselves making a deep run, Roslovic's the type of guy that is going to be like he's going to score a big playoff goal. That's my other ice cold take.
Ooh,
Kind
yeah,
of
like,
copied from Matt, trademarked from Matt. I don't want to completely copy it, but I'm in such agreement that he's the type of guy that would score a big playoff goal. I pray though they are going to play him on the first line because I truly think him and Wenberg together on a line is a mistake and it's too many passengers. Split the passengers up there.
yeah, you. That's good. I like that. I like that. I guess since we're going on like with ice cold takes here, I'll give mine. So we've reached the ice cold take segment. Remember, folks, holy cow, 110 people watching. This is crazy. I've never had this many people watching at the same time. Thank you for being here. But anyways, if you're new to the show, an ice cold take is a noun. It's an accurate statement backed by facts and observations that is solid in nature, similar to a block of ice, i.e., a spot on claim. Sometimes we get these wrong, in which case they're called melted takes. So I'm going to bring up one that was from somebody else from yesterday. I was in a Twitter Spaces, Statboy Stevens Twitter Spaces, and someone was saying that the conversations we were having about Artemi Panarin last year, like around playoff time, during the playoffs, after the playoffs, when we got knocked out in round one, are the same conversations that we're having about Zibanejad right now. And I think that's really Like, I think that's you cannot be more right than that, honestly. I have serious doubts about him now
Oh,
because
me too.
even more doubts with Zibanejad because I experienced Panarin going AWOL in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, it's possible it could happen again.
I still have concerns about him even. Like, it was one game, but Panarin did not look good against the Panthers, and that was
Yeah.
a playoff type game, which concerns me a bit. But
Y w we'll see. I still have hope that Panarin will get
it
back,
was
but
one game. I'm not going to overreact too much, but just based on that one game, scares me a bit.
and it's pretty crazy too, like, that was a very close game. Like, the Panthers, okay, yeah, they were the better team, but the Rangers at points looked like they were the better team in that game, and I think that spotty officiating kinda changed a lot of it. You would like to see the Rangers take back momentum at some point in that game, but, they had it in the start of that second period before I think it was Rempe took that penalty, right? Was it Rempe that took
Um, yeah, yeah, it was the
and they
Rempe penalty.
and Barkov, set up Reinhart with that ridiculous goal?
Yeah,
Imagine your
which
1CA doing that.
dude, I tweeted it then like Barkov having a guy like that would be awesome, and people were like, "Well, yeah, it's hard to find that," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, no shit. That's why I'm saying I wish I had there. We had that on this team. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's difficult and it's a rare breed, but yeah, I want to go back to a comment that was earlier at 11:01. VZ Peasy put in the chat um about Gensel that he was worth giving up the assets for, in my opinion, because he gives you a legit shot at a cup. If we were not going for a cup with a team in win now
Right.
mode, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
That's my take, and
Yeah.
that's my other stance as to why I was for moving a guy like Kako, even with Othman, to get him. Like, again, as crazy as it sounds, if not now, when is my
Yeah.
question? Like, you're first in the division. Panarin's having an MVP year. Fox is still playing like a Norris defenseman, which he will for years to come. So you don't have to worry about that too much. But still, like, Panarin's having an MVP year. He's only getting older.
The goalies are
Kreider's
great.
Kreider's getting older. You're getting the next step from Lafreniere. You obviously want one more step forward from him, but you're still getting a step forward. Trocheck career year.
Yeah,
I-
that's a big one there too. Yep.
Igor has a year left after this year on his deal. You want to take advantage of that team friendly deal, man. And then Panarin too, like 3 years or two after this on that deal. It's a bad look if you really can't grab one, in my opinion, with Panarin, which I'm not saying that, like, again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and they do end up going far, I'd be very happy to be wrong. But I I just have my worries, at least for this year right now. But you got, like, Panarin's having such a good year that I think that this was the opportunity to go all in if there was any.
Yep.
And I just don't like that they took the passive approach personally. But if it works, again, I will put my hands up and be very happy to be wrong about it. I would be very happy to be wrong.
Mhm.
But to me, this was the year to freaking go all in.
Yeah. The only thing that I can say against that, because that's what I was saying. I was saying, like, if it's not now, then when is it? When are you going to push the chips into the middle and say, all right, this is the team, this is the time. We're going for the cup. We're going for it all, and it's going to be right now this year, in the next 2-3 months. By June, we're lifting the Stanley Cup over our heads. Like, when is that going to happen? And the only other thing that came to mind is, like, all of our conversations that we've had in the past, like maybe in the summer, where it's like, okay, the Rangers are very impatient and they always move on from their prospects or they don't develop them right. The only thing that I'm thinking, and I'm not sure, I can't confirm or deny this is just merely a theory, a hypothesis, what have you, is like maybe Drury sees something in the guys like Othman, Pro, the guys that he's drafted, and he wants to develop them and add them to a championship team in the same within a couple years. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not fully on board with that theory, but it's just something that came to mind where it's just like, all right, you want to build, you want to be one of these dominant teams that all these other teams out there like Tampa Bay drafted really well. Toronto, they got their stars. They drafted them, right? When is it going to be the Rangers that are able to do that? When are they going to be patient enough to build from the ground up and do that? Like if you don't give the prospects enough, give them the chance, then you'll never have that. You're just going to keep buying from like older aged players that are just in free agency. You know what I mean?
I could get that point, but I have a couple counterpoints to that. One, we always talk about how the Rangers just suck at developing guys regardless. So, yeah. Which, yeah, again, like you said, at some point you got to be able to do it. So, because you're never going to be a sustainable winner if you don't. So that I get that counterpoint to that one. But the only other counterpoint I have with the Guentzel trade in particular is I still feel like it really wouldn't have been the end all be all. Like, say the final package was a first, Kakko, and Othmann. If you put it this way, all right, you're giving up a first round pick for Guentzel. That's like pretty much up to value. Kaapo Kakko, he's 23 years old and he's showing signs of being like a solid role player type, but you move a role player type in a deal that gets you a legit star. And again, I get the helps your chances with winning now, but you paid a fourth to get Roslovic. Like I mentioned earlier, Roslovic could have played on that third line and could have gave you similar production to Kakko. I mean, more production point-wise to Kakko. Maybe you sacrifice your defense a bit there, but Roslovic's still a fine two-way player. And then Brendan Othmann, yeah, it sucks to lose a blue-chip prospect, but you still have Gabe Perreault in the wings.
Yeah.
Brett Berard is emerging out of nowhere into a legitimate prospect, and they still have some other depth in their prospect pool. Like, they have Sikora, not sure what he's going to be, but like just in terms of top six pieces down the road, you still have Lafreniere, who's young. You have Berard coming through, who's looking promising. You have did I mention Lafreniere? You have Perreault, Lafreniere, and Berard. Those were the three guys I wanted to mention.
Yeah, Sikora, McConnell, Barker. Yeah, like you still have pieces there, but that's what's still confuses me is like, did it really need to be Othmann and Kakko? Like, couldn't it have been like Zach Jones? Couldn't it have been
that? I don't get that.
Or Berard? You know what I mean? Like, why does it have to be for us? Why does it have to be our top guys?
Yeah, I don't get
for other teams that they had to pay from their second or third tier of prospects. They're paying pennies on the dollar, and we're paying the full amount. Why? I don't get that.
Yeah, Again, like, I can't fault it from that perspective, but Dubas did overplay his hand in this and was a moron. Like, I'm not going to pretend Dubas doesn't deserve any fault in all this, but from that perspective that I put it in, to me, it's like, and look at this team's getting by with guys like Blake Wheeler on their top line and guys like that. I think they'd be fine having guys like Will Cooley fill in top line roles for a bit until they crawl to the deadline for the future. Like, I think this team still would have been in good shape down the road for the future if they did sacrifice that type of package personally. But again, if I'm wrong and the Rangers win it all this year, would be very happy to admit I was wrong. And I will no longer at the deadline be the type of guy that's advocating for the shiny toy type. But the thing that worries me is that Vegas, they've shown their aggressiveness. And Barbashev, I get it, not a sexy name, but they still trade a top prospect to get him. Savard from the Lightning, they traded a first-round pick to get him. They traded a first to get Coleman and Gaudreau. They traded...
That's going all in. That's paying whatever the price is paying it. And, you know, and you make a good point, man. Like,
and I'll hit another example.
The Rangers were not willing to do that. And for that, I give the deadline a D. I'm very underwhelmed by the returns that they got.
I know they generous.
Yeah,
I would say C minus, so not that much different, but still.
I thought you were gonna give him an F, dude. Honestly, minus. Yeah.
No, I'm feeling a little more generous and calmed down, but now that I'm talking about it again, maybe my mind's changing because yeah, we heard the whole going all in thing and like this is what we got. It is underwhelming because here's my other argument too, because everybody says to me too that Well, look, last year they gave up all those assets and tried to go big game hunting. It didn't work. One, not the rental's fault still. Two, okay, in 20, you can't say this because the argument that I hear is, well, 2022, they didn't go big name hunting. And look at that. It worked. They made the conference finals. And then last year, oh, it didn't work. And then I bring up, all right, well, in 2014, they ended up giving up 2 first-round picks to get Marty St. Louis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was comparing it to. I was like, maybe the Rangers do 2 first-round picks in Kakko because it's 10 years later.
And I'm like, all right, well, Marty St. Louis, they don't get to the cup without Marty St. Louis.
Yeah.
Well, did they win the cup? All right, well, did they win the cup being passive in 2022? Like, I can make the same argument right back in your face. Like, I don't think there's some magic formula like NHL fans think. I, for one, think personally they shouldn't have been paranoid for last year. I think they should have taken a more balanced approach, get a legit top 6 winger, and even if it wasn't a guy like Guentzel, have a pivot move. Like, I don't know if they could have pried Vetrano away, but like, go get Riley Smith. It's not the flashy name, it's not the overexciting, but build a deep team, and at least you're showing me that, all right, the team's deep. Maybe there's a chance. Like, I think they should have gone with a guy. They shouldn't have gone full top heavy and full depth. They needed a legit top line right winger and depth players. I don't know why we can't say they needed both and why it had to be one extreme or the other. They just needed both. They needed a legit top line right winger. They needed depth. And I think
third liner, yes.
Yeah, and someone tweeted, I forgot who, he's on the Liberty Blue Pod. I think his name's Andrew. I forgot his last name, but he tweeted and it summed it up perfectly that what they gave up and what they got is honestly great. It's perfect what they got. But you could also say at the same time, it's a failure that a team with cup aspirations didn't fill their biggest need, getting a legitimate top line bona fide winger.
They could have done it earlier. But to your point about like the teams going all in, like Savard or who did even Goudreau and Coleman a couple years ago when Tampa Bay traded for them. Like, how do you know those guys are going to move the needle? To the outsiders, it's like these guys got a first round pick. They move the needle. Like, really, they're going to be that good? It's really difficult to judge that. That's what I think. That's the difference between a good GM and a winning GM.
I agree. And I think the difference that people are forgetting too is with those teams, Tampa in particular, their star players were playing like star players that they didn't need to fill those voids. They were so desperate to fill those depth voids. That's why they took the depth approach, because it's
a lot easier when it's like that.
Yeah, they didn't have a revolving door of right wingers. And this comment's true too, that I thought of in my head. The bargain bin shopping didn't work out this offseason. And then they did the same approach at the deadline, which that's what makes me scratch my head.
They really didn't have much of a choice this offseason because
that I could agree with. Yeah, like I defended it this offseason because it's like, all right, you didn't have the cap flexibility. Yeah, what are you going to do about it? But the cap opened up at the deadline. That was the chance to plug those holes. And listen, they obviously got better than Nick Bonino and Tyler Pitlick. Like, I'm not going to pretend they didn't with these acquisitions, but we can't be like lying to ourselves and applauding Chris Drury for not addressing the biggest need. Like, I think you could applaud what he got for what he gave up, but you can't, you could also at the same time say, like that tweet said, it's a failure that he didn't address the team's biggest need.
Yes. It's just like Eichel when he didn't trade for Eichel, and that's the biggest failure. He didn't get fleeced in any of these trades.
No,
you could argue
he did great.
You could argue that Drury fleeced all 3 of these trades. Even the Patan trade, I guess.
Even Nick Patan.
But honestly, I can't make a judgment on who Chris Drury is as a GM. I can't do it unless I have that information of what his final offer was for Guentzel. If I hear it was a first,
I'm pretty sure it was Othman and a first. The final offer.
Yeah. If they included something else, like if they included, even if it was a first or Othman and Zach Jones, I don't know why they wouldn't take that. I don't know. I like that.
They overplayed their hand.
Good. Zach Jones, like if you put him on that team, that power play is going to be so much better. That power play is like abysmal.
Oh
abysmal.
yeah.
For all the weapons they have, abysmal. There, everybody looks to defend the big guys, Crosby, Malkin. You know what I mean? Like they had Gensel, Letang. You throw Zach Jones in there, who's sneaky good with the puck in the offensive zone. He's gonna start getting some points. Why wouldn't you value that?
Dude,
I don't completely
agree. Like Pittsburgh overplay. I think both things are so true that Drury should have been aggressive and Pittsburgh, or Dubas, I should say in particular, overplayed his hand. I think both things could be very true here. But again, if I end up being wrong, I'd be happy to. If you were looking on the surface, if we were grading what they did this tagline based on what they gave up and the value they got back, I'd give it an A. I'd go as far to say maybe even A+ with what they got. The reason the grade is tanked so much is because they didn't fill the biggest need. They didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. The one thing, and I got to get back to this because this is my real ice cold take. The one that I said before was like from somebody else, but I got to talk about Mika Zibanejad. And have you seen Spider-Man 2? Like not the Tom Holland one. I'm talking about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2, like with Tobey Maguire, 2004.
I don't think I have.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, you need to go watch. That's that's pure cinema. Like that's pristine, high quality Spider-Man action movie. Tobey Maguire, best Spider-Man ever. But that movie is essentially Spider-Man 2 is essentially Peter Parker's in a midlife crisis at the ripe age of like 20 something years old because he's carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. His uncle dies or whatever in the previous movie. You know how the Spider-Man stories goes, but he's got nothing going for him, this guy. Like he's trying to save the world and pay his bills, pay for his grandmother's bills, go to school, balance like 2 jobs, like delivering pizzas, and he can't make it work. He forgets his own birthday and stuff like that, and eventually becomes too much for him to handle, and he can't even be Spider-Man anymore. It starts with him being pretty good at being Spider-Man, but then midway through the movie, he gives up. This is spoilers for anybody watching, but this is important for my ice cold take. I'm sorry. He throws out his Spider-Man suit. He puts it in the garbage and he walks away. This is Mika Zibanejad. Zibanejad has been coasting this entire year. He's close to a point per game player. Pretty good, right? He's embracing the Spider-Man side of him, but he is not who we think he is. He's not playing the way that he's supposed to be playing. Is my analogy here. This is the allegory of Mika Zibanejad. If you're following along with me, he's not playing the way that we know he's capable of. And at this point, he's got two options, right? He could put the suit back on, right? Or he could just be a bystander and, go to class, not worry about people dying or people in a burning building on the train. He needs that moment where it's like, all right, I need to pick. I am a New York Ranger. I'm 40, 50 goal scorer, Mika Zibanejad, and we're coming out on top here. That's my ice cold take. Like this is
it's movie day, cinema day, storyteller day.
I'm crazy. I mean, Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite movies, but like that's what I'm thinking of. He's going through a midlife crisis here. I don't know what's going on with him, but like Zibanejad is very clearly not the same player as he was last year or even a couple years ago. And he's still young enough where he could get back to that. And I think that's what would save the day for everybody, for the New York Rangers, if he could embrace his inner Peter Parker and Spider-Man and shoot the puck past the goalie for God's sakes.
That's literally what I've been saying too. Yeah, like if this team wants any chance, they need that Zibanejad. The thing that's scary though to me, I'm looking right now at his 5v5 numbers, is like you wouldn't even know that his 5v5 numbers, or at least goal total wise, are as poor as they've been the past 3 years. Because like he's at least visibly looked decent at 5v5, like passable. To me, the most he's ever looked elite though at 5v5 was that 2019-20 season. That's the best Mika Zibanejad we've got. I think that was
he could shoot the puck past the goaltender. And it was more than that. I think you and Matt were talking about and the Airbnb, like how he scored goals everywhere in various ways.
Like, yeah, like that's what made him a true goal scorer.
Yeah, he would be around the net. He would deflect. He would shoot past the goalie. He had an elite breakaway move. You know what I mean? Like that. He would strip pucks off of defenders, and he was great in that sense. Like in transit, everything was perfect. It wasn't this one dimensional bull crap where it's just, all right, I'm getting in the left bumper, setting up for the 1T, top left shot, goal. That's it. That's all he is right now.
Yeah, and it's sad. Like I don't understand where that player went. And somebody, I don't know how much truth there is to it, so I don't want to speculate entirely, but someone was saying in my chat that apparently like he's dealing with some lawsuit in Sweden for his burger place, and that's like playing an impact on him mentally.
I heard about that, but I don't think that one was true. I think someone said that was like a false report, and that like the burger place is actually doing really well. I got to look into that though.
Well, regardless if there is any truth to that, listen, I get it that mentally things could affect your performance at certain things, but if it's truly affecting him that much, then he should be taking a step aside. That's ultimately his decision. I wouldn't make that for him, but
he's not the guy to do that though.
He's not going to be the guy to do that, but he needs to perform better because, I mean, dude, it's hurting the team. And like, I hate this thing because I tweeted out recently that there's a difference between constructive criticism and hating. We don't hate the guy. We freaking like the guy. I have a freaking Mika Zibanejad jersey. I wouldn't buy a jersey if I didn't like the guy. We're just begging for him to be what we've seen before. We wouldn't be demanding this type of play if we haven't seen it before. We've seen him play like a 1C. Where is it though? Like, I want to know. I don't understand where it is. That dude, like you just said, was shooting the puck from everywhere. Like, look at the 5-goal game. He wasn't just scoring goals from the same spot. He was getting in front of the net, like you just mentioned, deflecting pucks. He was ripping backhanders on breakaways. He was scoring goals at freaking will.
This is also a good point. I feel like it's his kid, probably not sleeping as much. Sounds soft, but it probably does affect you. Igor struggled when he had his kid. Not a great excuse, is the thought. Yeah, like at the end of the day, these guys are still human, right? And to your point about the constructive criticism, let me tell you something. Some people can take it and some people cannot. This is from me, from experience. This is a fact. I was a competitive martial artist. I competed on ESPN, competed for world champion multiple times, probably like 6 or 7 times in my career from like, what was I in, like sixth grade to the time I was a junior in high school. Right. I know like I've been an athlete before, and I've worked with a coach that is all about constructive criticism and telling you you suck, and works you to your brink. You're bleeding, you're sweating, you're throwing up, you're crying. You know what I mean? Some people can handle that and some people cannot. Because there were people within my organization that used to say, like, this guy that you're training with is not a good guy. I don't think he's a good fit for you. And I'm saying, nonsense. This guy is a good fit for me because I like it. I like being pushed to my limits because I know that's what's going to make me better. But some people cannot handle that. And that's why everybody's different. You know what I mean? It's not a bad thing. It's just that's why some people think they have this image in their head that that's what you're saying about like Zibanejad, for example. You know what I mean? Like, it's not true. We don't hate Zibanejad. I don't hate him. I love the guy too. He's one of my favorite players. What did they say?
ESPN D, World Champion D.
I wish World Champion D. That would be. I'd put that in my room. That'd be plastered all over the walls. Pause. But yeah, Zibanejad needs to step it up. There's one more thing that I need to vent about here. I don't think I went into this yet, but I talked to Evan about it before we started recording. The coverage of hockey in the trade deadline in the United States is nearly non-existent. Right? Like, I'm sitting over here for 3 days on my phone, on Twitter, refresh, go to search, trending, hit Gensel, refresh, go to latest, refresh. Nothing. Like that's like there is nothing on the radio. What happens if I need to go to my car and drive like 15 minutes somewhere and I'm away from my phone and I need to stay up to date with stuff? I get it. Like watching something on TV versus like keeping up with the news on your phone, the news travels faster through Twitter. So much faster. Like it's not even close. But can you at least throw hockey a bone? I know it's not the most popular sport in the United States, but you're freaking talking about the Mike Tyson Logan Paul fight that's going to happen in like 3 months. Whenever it's going to happen. When the trade deadline is 3 days away. And you don't want to give it a bone?
Sad. Dude, it's so sad.
I got to pull up this tweet. From yesterday. That radio station with Pagnotta. What was that? Do you have it on your it's probably on your
I know it was NHL Network, that like an NHL Network radio station. Don't know how that guy's on NHL Network, by the way.
Odyssey. It was like an Odyssey. I'm on your page. Like I'm scrolling backwards. Like
you're gonna have to scroll a lot.
Yeah, a lot here. Yeah.
Yeah. While you're looking for that though, yeah, it's like I had people going in my stream literally thanking me for doing deadline coverage because it's like there's nothing else at all. Like you're the only one doing this while the WFAN's talking about the Mets 6 starter and spring training, while all these other networks are talking about just whatever we don't care about. Like it's so sad. It's so sad how bad the coverage is. And I thought the whole point of the ESPN deal was to grow the damn game.
Right.
They haven't done jack shit. Like,
I got to give a lot of credit. Shout out to Alan Hahn on 98.7 ESPN. Like today, I turned on the radio and right from the beginning, all he wanted to do was talk about the deadline. Like he's an Islanders guy, but all he wanted to do was talk about the Rangers and the deadline. And I love that. I love that. Even though his co-host Bart Scott, former New York Jet linebacker, great dude by the way. Even though he doesn't know anything about hockey, they still tried. Oh, I found it. Andrew Filipponi, the Pony Express. He's on 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. This tweet, report, David Pagnotta, NHL Network insider, says on at 93.7 The Fan that the Penguins and Rangers Jake Gensel trade talks have, quote, intensified. New York's first-round pick and Kaapo Kakko could both be in the deal. Kakko was 23 and scored 40 points last season, former number 2 overall pick. That one tweet got 993.1 thousand views.
Yeah, just like Scott Morrow was in the Gensel trade. Sorry,
yeah, that's not for me. It's not the point like that Pagnotta got the thing wrong. It's that there's a market here. Like, look, hang on a second. I got to see what's the comparison here. The next tweet: Mitch Trubisky just signed for almost $3 million a year. Blah 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 blah. Russell Wilson, 45,000 views. Right, like there is a market here. And the one before, $1.21 million less money than what Nate Sudfeld and Nick Mullins make to play quarterback. 58,000 views, impressions. You know, like that's 900. That's 1 million views here, 1 million. And you don't want to give a bone. All I'm talking about, 1 hour to hockey. That's it. That's all you got to do. 1 hour. I'll do it for free. Damn it.
Yeah, seriously. Like you could get me on.
Yeah. Oh my God. That bothered me so much. But again, shout out to Alan Hahn he took calls. It was like a full on, like a 15-minute segment, and which for ESPN radio, that's like a lifetime. That's an eternity for hockey. That's a lot of hockey. The most hockey that I've seen the radio talk about, it was when they announced the letter. They had a full segment. Jeff Gorton came on the Michael K show. You know what I mean? Like they were talking about
that's
that
what
stuff.
I think goes into it with New York, is that, like, sorry to cut you off, but like Drury doesn't speak to the media really ever. Yeah. Like he never speaks to the media.
Yeah, he'll go on the K show too. I don't know if he went on today. I know Callahan went on to talk about hockey, which was great. I didn't see it though. I have to go back and watch because Callahan's awesome. If the damn speaker in the pizzeria on the TV worked, I would have enjoyed the point much more than I actually did. But I really couldn't hear anything because the speaker was busted. But anyways, Evan, you have anything else you want to add here before we wrap it up here? I think we talked a lot about. I think we hit on everything here that I wanted to hit on. Gensel, Vetrano, Eberle, none of those guys. Drury we talked about.
Not really. I mean, I will give myself the little self promo because I do want this to be a thing. I want Cardiac Ranger shirts to be purchased. I want everybody to be aware. Go to my channel. Link is in the description on my recent video. If you want a Cardiac Ranger shirt, we need to make this a movement. We need to make this a thing because it is a legit thing. They do put you in the cardiac arrest. So go get your Cardiac Rangers merch.
Drop the link in the chat here.
Yeah, I could drop the link here. Let me do that quickly.
Because I'll order one. Do you have a ridiculous promo code like Heat Daddy?
No, I do not have a promo code. But we got hoodies, we got shirts. Go get your Cardiac Rangers merch. Thank you to people that already did. Tweet at me when you get it.
Definitely going yeah, definitely going to do that. Where is it? Can't post.
Is it not showing up? Oh, can't post the link.
Can't post it. Just all right, here's what we're gonna do. We have 120 people watching on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Post the link, tag me in it, and I'll retweet it. And
do you have wait, did the link show up though when I put it in chat?
I don't see it here.
All right, yeah, I'll do that then. I'll promote it on Twitter. It's fine.
And
I'll put it in the private chat on StreamYard.
There you go.
So you can copy and paste it that way.
There you go. Streamlabs, Dark Heart.
Yeah, my old YouTube channel name. Yeah, I couldn't change the link unfortunately, but it's fine.
Okay. Get this link to
Cardiac Rangers.
Forward Pythons. Cardiac. Can't spell. Oh God. Rangers merch. I'm definitely buying one. Something.
Love to hear that.
Yeah. I thought that was that Nico that posted the please Chris Drury. Please.
Yeah, that was Nico. that was so good.
That was great. That was good. That would have been awesome if they could have pulled it off, because then that video would just be so much better. Like,
dude, I know. Like, now it's just sour to use that video again.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, it sucks. But anyways, thank you so much to everybody who stopped in to listen to us rant, offer some insight in the comments. Appreciate all of you guys. Hopefully you guys check out future episodes of the podcast. Rick DiPietro is my next scheduled guest. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it is in the works. I got
Pietro.
Yeah, Rick DiPietro, former Islanders goalie, host of DiPietro and Rothenberg on 98.7 ESPN radio. He's in the works. I would love to get his insight before the playoffs. That would be awesome. Still working on it. Hopefully we could get it done within the next few weeks. But that's my next scheduled guest, the one that I really hope. That's my next goal to get on. But yeah, thanks again for checking out the stream. I'm sorry the Rangers didn't get Jake Gensel, but I hope we satisfied you guys with coverage of today's NHL trade deadline for the Rangers.